Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. And I wanted to take a minute and we're going to look at, one, what kinds of crystals do you earn in this game, right? There's three ways that I kind of separate crystals in this game and the way you get them in terms of like income. The second thing we're then going to look at is how you can spend those crystals on energy refreshes. And then finally, what else can you spend those crystals on? Because if you eventually you'll hit a point where you can do a lot of different refreshes, and then you're going to hit a point where you've got to start making decisions on should you continue refreshing energy or should you be using them in shipments. So I want to take a look at that. I think it's a really important topic. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. And please, guys, if you can, hit that subscribe button, leave likes, and leave comments. I want to give a huge shout out to the channel members right now. Thank you for your continued support and patience as I've had a lot of stuff going on in the real world here that's a lot harder for me to stream right now, so I do appreciate your guys' continued support. For those of you wondering, like, oh, what do these guys get? Because on stream, they do get priority during reviews, but they have a special section of the Discord where I personally will answer any question they have about what to do with their roster, Grand Arena advice, whatever. That's what I'm here for. So, again, guys, thank you so much. Appreciate you all. Let's get back into the game. And what I want to look at in particular is, again, those crystals and how we can spend them in the game. So I just need to pull up, so I'm working here, I'm going to pull up a Google Doc. I will link this in the description as well. All right. So before I get into that, let's kind of talk about So the three kinds of crystals that I've kind of outlined here, as you see, they're on different tabs. You've got your daily, your monthly, and your bonus crystals. Now, I will explain where each of these come from, some of the different things that go on. So the first thing is your daily objectives. And I have a link here to this Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes Wikia. If you guys have never been here, this wiki page is awesome. It has a lot of things that I was able to pull from, a really good database. So this will show you what your daily objectives are, depending on what level you are, and what your daily crystals are going to end up being. So it's really nice. So in this particular example, I used my own roster here. I get 65 crystals for completing my daily objectives. I get another 25 for completing Galactic War. And then I have my daily GAC payout and my Fleet Arena payout. That then gets me to 730 total crystals a day. That's my daily income. What separates daily income, the reason it's just these things, this is what's going to hit your crystal inbox every single day. Right? Like every single day, this is what hits. If you don't place well in maybe you're, only earn 100 from GAC and, 100 from fleets, right? It changes your amounts. I'm only using my own just because I want to paint the picture of what it's going to look like later on down the road for you when you're getting first place in your fleet arena, when you're doing really well in GAC, and you'll see how these crystals kind of add up over a period of time. So that's your daily income, again, at level 85. Another link I have here is to my fleet versus GAC income, and that's where I did this all by my own, where I went through and grabbed all the different GAC things. I will link this in the description down below as well. This actually shows you, this is a video topic I had another time where I showed that until you reach a certain point in, like Kyber here, right, your crystals from fleet, somebody messed around with this, it should be 400 if you're getting first. So if you get 400 crystals, you get first place, just again showing this. Look, you've got to be in Kyber 5 before you earn more from GAC going 5 and 4 than you do from your fleets. So I did just want to show that here. But again, this is my daily income at level 85. So you have your monthly income, and again, you'll see here you've got your different territory battles. My guild only does Rise of the Empire twice a month, so I get 1,000 crystals each time we do that for the star count we get. So that's 2,000 crystals. And then you have your GAC season rewards. These are the things. For monthly income, it's just stuff that you can count on, that you can rely on and say, yeah, you know what, I know we're going to get X number of stars here, X number of stars there, to a certain degree, and you roughly know where you're going to finish in GAC. So you can put those numbers in there, and this then breaks out to your monthly. The key here is that you do want to then figure out what your extra daily crystals are from this. It's broken out separately because these crystals come in a bulk. Right? I get 1,000 crystals each time territory battles ends, and at the end of the month, I get 2,050 for GAC season rewards. So you can't think of them as an extra 135 crystals a day because they're not in your inbox. They kind of come all at once. It's a monthly thing, so you've got to kind of prepare yourself for that when those come. you might want to be using them for other things. And so, if you're going to use them in a daily perspective, as we'll show later on, you need to account for that. And then the final category is bonus. So here is where your GAC wins and losses come into play, your weekly payouts, your daily bonus chest. When you complete your daily objectives, you get that bonus chest. Any kind of special events throughout the month that could occur. And then like your all other, which is just like any other random crystals you get. This is, you throw them in here. Bonus crystals are something that I think a lot of players don't understand this concept. And it's something I try to always say, hey, these are your bonus crystals. So now you've got the 3 kinds. There is a 4th kind. I don't have it as a tab because I'm designing this primarily for free to play. And that's if you buy crystals. And if you buy crystals, you better have a plan for them. You're going to have a way to use them. But that's a completely different animal. And that is something that I would actually say I'm probably not the best person to give advice on that, because I don't spend money. So I'm not buying 15,000 crystals at a time to tell you what the best thing to do with them would be. So I want to get that out there. Now, in terms of how to spend your crystals, you have 5 different kinds of energy. Conquest, we'll cover there at the end. I'm just going to throw it out there that it's there. But you have your big 3, which is regular for light side and dark side, your Cantina, and your fleet energy. And then the last one being mods. The reason I call out your light side, Cantina, and fleet is that those are things that will level up your characters. They get you your gear and your relics, right? That's where you get all your character shards, gear, relics, all that stuff. That all comes from that kind of energy. Mods is only things for mods. You might get a couple of credits here and there, but it's all about mods there. And I always kind of label it separately because I think as important as mods can be, you could have all the mods in the world. If you don't have the gear or the characters to put them on, they're worthless to you. So I think sometimes I don't want to undersell mods, but I don't want to oversell mods as well. So again, listing out your big 3. Now on the left side of this column here, what I did was said, hey, here's your refreshes you're going to do multiplied by your crystals. And these are just my recommendations. And I have a couple of things in green here that you'll see. The ones in green are things that I feel very strongly about. That when you're at this point, this is exactly what you should be doing with your energy, in my personal opinion. Now, you'll notice that I don't have you spending mods until you're at this point, right? Until you're doing 3 of everything. You can change this up however you want and for whatever your roster needs. I just think most players, you can go a longer time without doing mod refreshes than you can when you start mixing in these mod refreshes. You might be shorting yourself on ships and other things. And as good as mods can be, there's a randomness to them. And this is the one side of mods we don't always mention. But there's a randomness to mods. Now, eventually, the more you do something, right, the more likely you are to get better mods. That's 1,000% the case. But I can't tell you that you're going to get fantastic speed mods or secondaries or whatever every single time you do mods. But I can tell you that if you equip the same amount of gear as me on your Galactic Legend Leia, you will have a Galactic Legend Leia that is the same gear level as mine if you put the exact same gear onto her. So that's the one thing with gear that makes it a lot more valuable in terms of farming, is that you know exactly what you're getting in return. There's obviously the RNG factor of how many drop, but if you have 50 Kyrotech of your Mark 7 and Mark 9, you can create that Kyrotech piece, and you know exactly what it's going to do. So I just want to throw that out there. But you can mix and match however you want, as you can see, but you're looking down. The couple things to note here. With your big 3, you always want to try to ensure that you're at least matching you never want to do more Cantina refreshes than regular. You want to at least match it or do more of your regular. That's because as important as Cantina is, it's very expensive. And your regular is where character shards are. It's where your Kyrotechs are. There's other gear there. So it's one of those that I think it pays to do a lot of these, your light side, dark side. Especially early on, you'll see it pays to do a lot more of these early on, because once you get to that point where you do need the Cantina, 3 times a day is a must. So then again, you'll see over here what the total crystal spending for the day would be if you're spending that on energy. Now, again, this is excluding Conquest. I want to cover that in a second. So For me, every day I spend 750 crystals, right? I do my 9 by 50 and 3 by 100, which again is 3 light side refreshes, 3 Cantina, 3 fleet, and 3 mod refreshes. You can do, again, this is just how I recommend it. The regular and fleet energy stuff, you can kind of mix and match these however you want. It's really, do you need more things from the fleet right now? Do you need those ship blueprints or some of the characters that are on there? Or do you need to be doing more regular stuff for Kyratex and character shards? Whatever that mix is that you need to be healthy between light side and fleet, I would do. The one caveat here to just keep in the back of your head, there's a lot less to farm in fleets than there are light side, dark side nodes. So if you spend a little bit more energy on the light side, don't feel like you're out of balance. There's just a lot less for you to farm with your fleet energy than there is with your regular energy. And here's a great example. Myself right now, currently in the game, if I just switch back over here for a second, and let's get rid of that ugly border. The only character I have left to farm in this game from fleet nodes is Marin. She is the only thing I have in fleet nodes. Everything else is 7-star or done, so I'm farming Marin and gear from fleets. Whereas I still have a lot of regular energy that I need to be using for character farms. And that's just because you look, there are 9 levels on the light, and there are 9 levels on dark side. So you've got 18 total levels here, comparative to just, 5 over here. So a lot less farming on, ships than in the light side, dark side nodes, which is why I kind of say you might want to prioritize doing regular a lot more first, because eventually you'll, not that it's a bad thing either way, but you are going to get through fleets faster relative to the regular energy. So let's go back over here. So this is my crystal spending every single day. This is how I spend my crystals. Now, there's a couple of things to note here. Once you do 3 refreshes, the cost of a single energy doubles, right? So this goes from 50 to 100. Cantina goes up to 200 and, so on. So once these costs double, the efficiency of your farming can drop significantly to the point where shipments can be a better option for you. And the example I want to show is Kyratex, because this is a favorite thing that we love to farm, and buying them in shipments sometimes is a smart value. So it costs 1,400 crystals for 50 Kyratex. If you don't believe me, I'm just going to show you guys, because I want to make sure you guys have this information. I know this is a lot of math. I promise you it is important. So here we go. 1,400 Kyratex for 50, for 1,400 crystals. So if we go back to our handy dandy spreadsheet, you will see that that comes out to 28 crystals per shard, right? For every Kyratech, you're paying 28 crystals. If you do a 50 crystal refresh of energy, you need to get 1.79 Kyratechs per 50 crystals you spend in order to make back your crystals. That's a break-even point. So in reality, if you do a refresh of energy and you get 2 Kyratechs, you saved yourself crystals. Same thing goes for over 3 refreshes, because maybe you do 1 and you're like, oh, I only got 1, but you do a refresh and maybe you get 3, right? That over the course of those refreshes, as long as you're averaging 1.79 Kyratechs for 50 crystals, you're doing fine. But look what happens when you go up to a 100 crystal refresh. Now you need to be getting 3.5 Kyratechs per refresh. Maybe you still do that, maybe you don't. I would say that it's kind of, that's an iffy point, right? You're getting real close where you might break even, you might not. So I wanted to show that as an example of that efficiency. And then finally, adding this one on here, if you guys were to go up to 200 refresh, just for argument's sake, right? Now, the math that you're doing, right, is you need to do 100, you need to take 200, right, and divide it by this number. So now look, now you're at 7 Kyratechs over the course of, those refreshes. I mean, tell me if you ever get these numbers, and if you do, go buy a lottery ticket. That's a lot of Kyratechs that you need to grab. So Maybe the 100 crystal refresh is worth it, but that 200 definitely not. And again, that's barring you have enough crystals to do that. So in this example here, once you get down to the point where you can spend 750 crystals a day on energy, you're doing all of this stuff. So I want to go to the summary here. So I just kind of put some, the summary here of all my different things. So my daily crystal income was 730. This is my monthly income, and you'll see here I broke it down to the daily, so I get an extra 135. Now I spend 750 a day on my energy, so my net spending during the day is 115 crystals to the plus. That I'm growing my crystal income by 115 every single time I, get through all of my stuff. With my territory battles and season rewards from GAC. Now, with Conquest, I'm going to do 3x50, which brings me down to a minus 35 for the day. So I am losing crystals during Conquest because I'm not getting enough anymore. Now, that's where those, you've got your monthly, right? You add in your monthly stuff here, right? So here's your monthly totals of crystals that you'll see this kind of starts to pan out differently a little bit because Conquest only goes on for 14 days. So you only need to take this by 14. So you lose a little bit of crystals, but there's your monthly stuff with those bonus crystals now being added into that monthly total. And then finally over the course of a year. So what else could you spend your crystals on, right? 114,000 extra crystals to spend in a year. Phil, what could you be buying with those crystals? Well, let's kind of break down some of the other things that you can buy in this game with the little bit of time left that I want to spend in this video. So I'm going to show some packs that I'm going to do a whole separate video on, but you've got these beautiful, wonderful relic amplifier packs here, particularly this one being my favorite. I'm going to spend some time, we're going to deep dive relics and how to farm them, and these packs will get their time in the sun. So there's things like this, packs that I would say are well worth your investment in crystals because of what you're getting in return comparative to what you could get in the shipments or what it would take to farm them. Another example of some things that I've bought before, I will buy mod slicing materials at times. This is something that I definitely have been spending more and more of my resources on is, hey, need to get some mods. Other times these daily deals can be really good value. If you're ever curious, are they good value? Drop it in the Discord and people will normally tell you whether or not that's good. I've shared some of the ones before that I think are fantastic value. And then otherwise, there's things like shards, right? You could buy shards for your Sana Staros or for Tusken Warrior or, if you're going for Galactic Legend Leia, right? You've got the characters that are in the shipments now you may want to buy. Another thing that I think are really valuable when you're getting closer to Galactic Legends is buying your tickets. These are things that make a huge, huge difference in the account. These are things that I will 1000% be buying these before I get to Leia. Before I get to the point that I need to unlock the event, I'll have my tickets maxed out, go into the event, and I'll probably be able to buy more of these if I wanted to. So this is something that I do just to kind of help get that Galactic Legend a little bit faster and facilitate that. Other things that you can spend those crystals on too, guys, is just maybe you're going to do those 100 refreshes. When I'm going for that Galactic Legend, maybe I'm going to spend more crystals there. You've got your ship events, like the Profundity coming up here. Maybe you do these Fleet Masteries and you're going to spend your crystals that way. So there's a lot of ways to use those extra crystals you get through your bonus and any extra monthly ones you have. But I would say you don't use them for anything other than energy, right? Like my personal, the Fat Phil approved method for crystal spending. You never spend them on anything other than energy until you get to this point where you're doing 900 crystals a day for, with your Conquest, right? So the 750 plus 150 of Conquest, that in my opinion is when you can start thinking about some of that other crystal spending. Before that, in my own personal opinion, I think you're much more efficient and effective using it for energy because energy will progress you a lot more. Not saying that sometimes it's not important to maybe rush an Executor. Aria. Apologies for the rude interruption from my dog. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be really important that you get the most out of your crystals by using them for energy. At times, it can make a lot of sense to refresh capital ships. I'm well aware of that. And when those things happen, that's where you just kind of stop everything. I've done it. I've stopped everything just so I can do that. But that's a decision that's a lot different. The majority of the time, you're best served. I know I kind of got on a tangent there, but majority of the time, you're best served just spending them on crystals in a way similar to this. Again, I gave you my blueprint of what I would do, prioritizing your regular Cantina and Fleet Energy, with mods kind of being something you can do on the side. And maybe you get to a point where, hey, you know what? I'm going to start mixing in mod energy up here. That's perfectly fine. You're allowed to make this however you want. But I think for most players, this is going to be the best path for spending crystals and trying to figure out what your crystal income is. So let's say you're looking at this and you're like, Phil, I don't get that many crystals a day. That's why I made this entire graph, that you can see, hey, how many crystals can I spend a day? Here's how to use my energy. So hopefully this helps you with that, because I want this to be a resource that you can use to understand your crystals and understand your account a little bit more. So that's the end of the video, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. I'm going to link the Google Sheets to this. They are available for you guys to share so you guys can see that. I love all of you. May the force be with you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.